Yeah, I had to hit that too short rejoin because Oakland's in the house, baby. Casey Pratt, ABC7, a sports anchor in the Bay Area and all over. I don't know, Casey, I don't know if there is a person who is more equipped to inform us on what's going on with the A's stadium situation. I think that actually includes people working with the A's.
Ownership.
So shout out to you. Thank you so much for A, being on our program today, and B, all the work you've put in to stay on top of what's going on. Because for somebody like me, who I'm just trying to read as many articles as I can and trying to consume as much of the information as I can, there is so many layers to this that go into like laws and drafts and this proposal and this meeting. You're at all of it. You're on top of all of it. So first off, thank you for doing all that and keeping all of us informed.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a passion project sometimes, and it's a lot of time spent just reading the most boring, mundane legal documents that you could ever read, and a lot of talking to people. But like, what's interesting, Kyle, I was telling people this yesterday, but what you actually hear or what I actually post is like, it's like the tip of the iceberg compared to like how much other information is out there. I just try to disseminate it in a way that people can understand because it's wildly confusing.
So last night there was a big hullabaloo in Oakland and there was a big vote and there were fans at City Hall chanting, "Stay in Oakland." There was a big vote. Can you lay out what happened last night in Oakland?
Yeah, it was a full-blown hullabaloo. That's a great way to describe it. So really what it was it was just a motion, like a recommendation to affirm their support. And so what does that mean? Really nothing. It doesn't mean anything at all. It's just like saying, hey, we still believe the A's belong here. So in terms of the legislation, it's really meaningless. But what I think you saw in the videos and the passion and everything going on there, what it really was designed to do was show that right now, the mayor's office, the vice mayor, the city council, the port of Oakland, labor leaders, the fans, everybody are on the same page. And it's really interesting that it passed unanimously too, because when I first heard from a source this was going to happen, I actually posted on X that I thought this should pass unanimously, and they texted me back that I just gave them a heart attack because nothing ever passes unanimously, especially when it has to do with the A's stadium issues. So it passed unanimously. That was a huge win for them. And really more importantly than anything, it just gave the fans a platform to show up and show out one last time. It gave the city an opportunity to put into record all the work they've done and just make some headlines right before the MLB owners potentially vote.
Okay, so Casey, that's where we're at. The vote is coming. And I mean, as someone who covered 2 full-blown relocation attempts here in Sacramento, I know like the ebbs and flows of this thing is crazy, and you know, like you're waiting for the next shoe to drop at all times, and then you're going to city council meetings, which are horribly boring. You're hearing people talk that have no business talking, that have no idea what they're talking about, whether that's the politicians or ownership of the A's or management of the A's or fans who are stepping up. Just, is there any hope that this thing will go a different way when we get to the Major League Baseball owners meetings in the coming weeks? Or is this a lot of like, you know, noise?
Yeah, so my thought is if the owners actually hold a vote at the owners meetings, they're not going to hold that vote unless they know pretty damn well that it's going to go through, right? I mean, why else would they hold the vote? If they push it back, that would be a sign that there is some uncertainty. What I will say, though, is that if they do approve relocation, what it's going to do is shine a massive spotlight on this entire situation. And the fact that the A's really have no design architect, they've not put out a single stadium rendering that's actually real. They said to wad up and throw away the other ones they made because they were fake. The A's themselves said that. They don't know how John Fisher is going to pay for it. They don't know how much it's going to cost. They don't even know where they're going to play from 2025 through 2028. So approving relocation is going to put a massive spotlight on a lot of holes in the A's plans. And if the A's have proven anything over the last, like decade plus, it's that they're not the most competent bunch sometimes. And I think that this thing could still fall apart. But we'll see what happens with that owner's vote. If I was an MLB owner, what I would say is, like, picture yourself living in a neighborhood and you all take a lot of time and effort to upkeep your home, and then there's one house on the block that is just a complete mess, bringing down real estate value, and you can't get the guy to do anything to take care of it, that would be John Fisher. And I don't see why they're going to help him. So my thinking would be, hey, look, you worked really hard. You got Las Vegas figured out. We'll approve you to move there, but we're not waiving the relocation fee. That's what I would do if I was an owner.
Talking with Casey Pratt of ABC7 all over the A's relocation saga. What's past a saga? I feel like this has been going on for 2 decades now. We need something more than an epic. Is that what's next?
It is. It feels like Shogun.
But the epic feels like too complimentary. We'll stick with saga. All right, all over the A's stadium saga, Casey Pratt. I know there's something going on in Nevada with Nevadans trying to get the stadium funding on the ballot where they can vote for it. And again, my understanding is that it would very likely get voted down if that happened. A, is that still on the table? And B, if it does get voted down, what's the next step?
Well, yeah, it is still on the table. But let's just put it this way, Kyle. You pay a lot of attention to A's things. Have you ever seen anybody come out and say they really, really want the A's in Las Vegas?
Not one person.
Most of the people in Las Vegas, when I go on ESPN radio in Las Vegas, they all agree with me the whole time. They want to They don't want a relocated A's. They want an expansion team.
Right.
The people out there want an expansion team. They don't want the A's. It's wildly unpopular. Not to mention all these things going around about, people being unhappy with John Fisher. You never see anybody step up and defend him either. So yes, if schools over stadiums gets this on the ballot, it will be bad news for the A's Las Vegas hopes because frankly, it's just not the most popular thing. People don't want to give their money to an out-of-state billionaire to build a stadium. They'd rather have a local billionaire start a new team like the Golden Knights and do it from scratch.
Right.
Now, that's the other thing. Like when you're like, how is baseball going to work in Las Vegas? Like, I know that it is a baseball town. Like I have family that live in Vegas, and like the Las Vegas Stars have always been a big deal, right? As a AAA team, like whoever it's their affiliate, they've always had some sort of pull. But like the way that football, that the NFL works is that people fly in for the weekend to go catch a game, and they get there on Friday, they party hard for 2 days, they show up on Sunday to watch a football game, and then they go home. That's not Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is 162 games. No one's flying in for a 4-game set to watch any team. I mean, maybe you would get some Dodger fans that came over, but that's just not. And you're not going to get the same following that the Raiders do, where some people from Oakland do go to watch a game. It's scorched earth here. When they leave Oakland, if they do leave Oakland, it's over. So how is this thing going to fundamentally work? Because we're hearing that, they're pitching that they're going to sell out a 30,000 seat building. And the building's not even 30,000 seats to start.
Well, it might be. We don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They may have found a way, like in the first version, that they actually drew up to put in 30,000 seats. But like, how is this fundamentally going to work in Vegas?
Well, I think the point you're making is if it's a 30,000 seat ballpark, they need to sell at least 27,000 some odd tickets for every game to pencil out mathematically. But if they sell 10,000 tickets for a few games, they can't offset that by selling 50,000 for like the Yankees series. So they're going to be in trouble with attendance. I think the way it pencils out financially, though, is gambling and all the stuff gaming can bring to the table for Major League Baseball. That is a big thing that nobody's really talking about. I think that is probably how this may or may not financially work. But to your point, the Raiders are great for them because people will fly in. They will stay at the casinos, they'll spend their money, and they'll just go to a game for like 4 hours on Sunday. With the A's, you're talking 4+ hours almost every day of the week, where people are not going to be sitting at the tables losing their money to the other casinos in the region. And I think that can't be too popular with other casino owners. So a lot of it doesn't add up, including the fact that the A's ownership currently has just completely cast aside and thrown their own fan base under the bus. None of these people are going to be flying in to see A's games like Raiders fans do. Raider Nation travels. They always have, they always will, and they're located all over the place. It's going to be different for baseball. So, yeah, I don't think it adds up there, but I do agree, and I have to say this, I really, really do agree. I think Major League Baseball in Vegas would be awesome. I just don't think this is the way they should do it.
Yeah, people won't drive in from Dublin I think people are going to fly into Vegas to go. That's wild. I also think it's kind of nuts that baseball and its sordid history with gambling would be like, hey, this is good because gambling can help us.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a crappy look. It's not the best, but it just is the facts of the matter. It's legal there. It's widely embraced now. It really wasn't back then. I mean, you're seeing like the FanDuel and all the other stuff all over the place now. So it's a lot more common and accepted than it was in the past.
Talking with Casey Pratt of ABC7, he's all over the A's stadium relocation. Is there any chance as this kind of goes on? I know John Fisher has said recently in the media that he doesn't plan on selling and he doesn't want to sell a team. He wants to put together a winning baseball team, just lies like that. Is there any chance that as this goes on, we see him lean towards selling, do you think?
Yeah, I think that either way he's going to sell. I really do. I think he's either going to get this deal in Vegas, jack up the franchise value by getting something in place, and then flip the team at that point, or sell a bulk of the ownership stake to a local owner to get this thing across the finish line financially and probably just from a local fan support standpoint in Las Vegas. Or he's not going to get the deal he wants in Vegas, and he'll have no choice at that point to sell the team. Now, that's where I think it's interesting, and it draws a lot of parallels, James, like what you were saying with the Kings. Everyone thought the Kings were gone. They were going to Seattle. Chris Hansen was buying the team, and then Vivek stepped in and bought it and saved it. If the team goes on the market, I think that's what everybody's waiting for, one way or the other. Because Joe Lacob's over there keeping an eye on this. He wants to buy the A's. He's being very muted in his comments, but he can't really say much because he doesn't want to piss off Major League Baseball. He is just one of several people I could think of that would step up and buy this team right now if they could. But it is not for sale. So it's a matter of, does John Fisher get this deal across the finish line in Vegas and then flip a large majority of the team, or does he fail and have no choice but to sell?
Yeah, Casey, that's something, you bring up Hansen and the Seattle saga, but this really does feel more like Anaheim and the Henry Samueli situation and the Honda Center, where the Kings were going to go down to Anaheim. They were going to relocate the team. The Maloofs were, and there was going to be a partnership with Henry Samueli, and Major League, the NBA, number one, they weren't ready to vet him. And so I know John Fisher might want to do this, but Major League Baseball is going to want to vet whichever owner this is, and they're not going to have him go into a situation where it's like, okay, well, we'll find 2 or 3 different guys there in Vegas that they could take over for him. And I think this comes back to, like, you are a steward of a franchise. You are not, no one lives forever. And this should be one of those things where I don't know how Major League Baseball can allow something like this to happen, where a bad apple, a horrific owner, steps in, dissolves a fan base, won't even fix a plumbing in his arena, in his stadium, and just intentionally pulls like the script from Major League, the movie, and just puts it out there for his franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's really, really weird how this thing is playing out, where this is an embarrassment. Like, what's happening where you're seeing the sell shirts all over Major League Baseball at every event? It's an embarrassment to the league what John Fisher's done. So anyway, I want to know, like, is it feasible that Major League Baseball could just say, like, look, we need to be done with this guy. We need him out now. And we also love Vegas, and we like the idea of $500 million or $1 billion relocation. I mean, like franchise fee, or $3 billion, franchise fee to start over and have someone else take over the A's.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the most obvious outcome. But they don't want to be kicking out an owner. They don't want to do that to somebody in their own fraternity, at least very publicly. So I think the optimal outcome for that scenario would be to, again, approve relocation, but not waive the relocation fee. At that point, I don't think John Fisher has the finances to actually make this work, and he would sell. Then you take somebody like Joe Lacob, a local buyer that would buy the A's, keep them here, get that deal locked in. They're already 90% of the way there in Oakland. I mean, they already have everything figured out for the stadium. They're just a little bit short financially on offsite infrastructure and things like that. So at that point, then you expand to Vegas. It's simple. Then you don't have to waive a relocation fee and keep an owner on revenue sharing, and you get an expansion fee and another market figured out. It's just money in the owner's pockets. The alternative, though, is give John Fisher Vegas, waive a relocation fee, which is hundreds of $1 million of all money the owners would be splitting, and you also lose Vegas as an expansion market. So now the owners are also not splitting that expansion fee. That's what's on the table with this ownership vote. Like, why would you take a guy that's been on revenue sharing for years, move him to a market where he's going to stay on revenue sharing, waive the relocation fee, and also lose the expansion fee as a result? It's like, it's mind-boggling that they'd even be considering it, to be honest.
Wild. I don't get it at all. All right. So two quick things for me. One, are they in Oakland next season for sure?
Yes, they are in Oakland next season for sure. Their lease runs through the end of 2024. After that, they have no idea where they're going to play.
Tight. Cool. I love professional organizations. And then is there any chance that this works out where John Fisher and the city of Oakland come together to get a deal done where he is the owner of the team in Oakland?
I mean, they want him back at the table. The city of Oakland would love John Fisher to come back to the table, despite all of this, because they know they have this thing very close to finish. They just need a willing partner to work with, and they don't have one in John Fisher. He does not want anything to do with it. Now, the one thing I would like to point out is, in Vegas, the proposal is a tiny 9-acre ballpark with no residential, no commercial, no other real estate involved. Howard Terminal was a ballpark with residential, commercial, all these other things involved. If you just scaled down Howard Terminal, said, I'm going to build a ballpark there, this thing could have been done years ago. Instead, they pushed for a $6 billion+ project, which would have been the largest in the history of the state, or one of the largest, and it bogged everything down. Do what the Giants did. Build a ballpark, hold on to that land. When the time is right, add the residential, add all the other things. If they just focused on a ballpark, if Fisher came back to the table, said, I want to do like what I'm doing in Vegas, except not have to build a dome or a retractable roof because I don't need one in Oakland, then build the ballpark. That's it. He could do it. He could do it fast.
Casey Pratt, ABC 7. Nobody covering the A's relocation and stadium drama better than him. Casey, you are so greatly appreciated by me, by James, by every A's fan out there and every baseball fan who wants to stay on top of all this. Last thing that we got to ask you before you go, maybe the most important question that you'll be asked on any radio or TV hit that you do about this. What's your favorite cereal?
Wow, my favorite cereal. I'm gonna go fruity. I'm gonna go Fruity Pebbles. I like the Fruity Pebbles. Like when my kids, I have 2 young kids, so we always have all the good kids cereals here, like Lucky Charms and Fruity Pebbles and all the Count Choculas and all that stuff. But every now and then I'll come home from work like late on a Wednesday night and I'll just pop off a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and then I'll treat myself, you know.
Love the Fruity Pebs. Atta babe.
Love it. Hey,
Good
great
answer.
seeing you, man. Great seeing you.
Thanks, Casey.
It was great seeing both you guys. I hope you all know and your listeners know how much I love and appreciate you. You guys are the best, and go Kings.